us in the pledge, please? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The Texas pledge, please. On the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Irene.
Irene, will you lead us in prayer, please?
Yes, sir. Bow your heads, please. Father, praise you for this event and your purpose for it. We know that when we gather together, you always have a divine agenda. We love you for that, Father, that even when we have done what you have asked, the results are so much greater than we ever could have imagined. Even in failed attempts, you blow us away with your faithfulness to provide what we need. Keep love at the forefront of our minds today and the guiding light for all we set out to accomplish and celebrate. In Jesus' name.
Amen. Thank you, Irene. Lovely prayer. Let me please apologize for being late. There's absolutely no excuse for that. But I am rather busy. Next item on the agenda is public comment. Irene?
Nobody signed up for public.
Okay.
comment, sir.
Okay. And roll. Irene, roll call, please.
Hi. Jerry Garcia,
Here.
Leo Gonzalez,
Here.
Luis Elizondo is absent, Robert Adler is absent, Armando Chapa,
Here.
Caitlin, Gabriela, Butch Poole,
Here.
Kevin Kishnick,
Here.
Ramiro Canales,
Here.
Dan Costi,
Here.
Melissa Vela Attorney,
Here.
Tom Hui General Counsel,
Here.
Terry Noack TLO.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Thank you so much, Irene.
You want us to introduce
Yes.
It's not an agenda.
Yes. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and introduce our counsel, Melissa Vela. Melissa, could you please stand? And Melissa is going to be the attorney for the appraisal district and for the board of directors. And I've had a sit down with Melissa, and she's I think you're going to find her very, very easy and nice to work with. And the only cloud on our meeting, however, was Ronnie Canales. But other than that, everything else was real good. So with that, Melissa, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Happy to
Thank you, Mel.
Okay, now we'll go to item number 6, the discussion on, or action on the consent agenda. Does anyone want to break up approval of the May regular meeting minutes, or approval of the meeting of the May 22 disbursements, or approval of the June 22 litigation reports? Not seeing any. May I have a motion to approve them as written?
I'll make a motion.
Leo makes a motion to get them approved. Butch seconds it. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show that it passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Do we want to go ahead? Tom, are you comfortable with talking to our attorneys now, or do you want to wait for?
Whenever you're ready.
Well, I'd like to cut off the bill that they're gonna send us, so, anyway, let's go ahead and start there, Tom, if you don't mind, please.
All right, but Mr. Chairman, if we would, then we need to
Go to closed
maybe
session.
go into executive session.
Okay.
Real quick.
If you don't mind, folks, we're gonna go into an executive session and speak with Miss, Brenna and see where we're at on this. Thank you so much for your patience.
And this will be agenda number 9,
I didn't know about my
and we're under section 551.
executive session. So we will move back to general agenda, and on that, we are going to have the presentation of the 2023 proposed budget, and I'd like to get Ronnie back in here before you start, Eli.
Number 11. Look at number 11, TLO.
Oh, okay. Before that, Elias, let's go ahead and Thomas, right, we're gonna go ahead and go to the taxpayer liaison officers report. And if we could have the liaison report now, please.
Mr. Terry.
Good morning.
Good morning.
As per my report, there's no comments, suggestions, or complaints. Thank God. The background checks have been completed for the 2 new applicants for the ARB positions, and I have the letter from Carla and Tom. So I will take those over to the courthouse this morning and ask Emily to get those to Judge Valdez ASAP, so we can get them appointed, and then they have training to do. They have a couple days worth of training videos to watch. So once that's done, we can bring them in and have them observed for a couple of days and get them rocking and rolling. They are Javier Gonzalez and Israel Cantu.
And so once we add those two, Terry, we're good?
We're up to speed for now.
Okay. And do you foresee any, on the horizon, do you foresee any shortage? Should we start the process again now, or can we?
So, okay, and Carolyn's gonna address this as well. Sorry, Carolyn. One of the auxiliary members
that
is
name is
moving
very
to
familiar.
Portland at the end of June. So we'll have him until the end, yes?
Terry,
Yes.
does Israel, had he served on the board before?
No, he had
Okay.
applied to serve on the board before, but he was not appointed.
Okay,
There
more,
was an Israel Cantu in the past.
Yes, he had applied, and I went back and looked through Bob's piles of papers. Sorry, Bob. And I did find that he had applied, but he was not appointed. He had a tax delinquency. It was like 2009, I believe.
And Javier Gonzalez, is that the?
Yeah, that's him.
My condolences
That's
to
the
you,
infamous
Terry.
Javier Gonzalez, yes.
I
He
thought
w-
that Israel Garcia, that he was also on the board too. Long
I
time
couldn't,
ago.
unless it was earlier than
He
that.
was an insurance adjuster or something like that. Yeah.
I'll go back and look again.
Gotcha.
But near as I could find, I went back to like I said, I went back to 2010. And
yeah,
he had been, he was not appointed because he had tax delinquency in the previous year.
dealing
But
with taxes.
yes, Javier Gonzalez was administrator of finance at Flower Bluff, and then he went to CCISD, and
Oh, you done, yeah.
Yeah.
He's okay.
he's
See, I
done
thought it
a
was
lot of
another
stuff.
Javier Gonzalez, that name, but you're not gonna believe this is sort of common. So when you first said that name.
Well,
it was-
yeah, I understand, but
It sort of sent chills back up my spine.
but knowing Flower Bluff, as you know Flower Bluff, I thought you would.
But I'm glad
know
it's
that it was
happening.
Javier.
Good, okay. Do you, Carolyn, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes,
Okay.
he does.
Yay. Well,
Terry, do you,
you know, they asked, so what was I gonna do? That-
you're not moving to Portland.
Heck, no.
You still live on the island, right?
Mm-hmm.
Still making
I'm not-
mortgage payments. Okay, Carolyn, go ahead.
No, not making mortgage payments. I'm that old. No. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
You can probably still hear me even though it's low. Good morning.
Good morning.
Our hearings are going as good as can be expected.
Yes.
We have 295 cases for today only. 62 of those are phone hearings, which take way longer. We've got a lot of property owners that have requested phone hearings but failed to submit their affidavits. So in the past, we've rescheduled them. We have been advised by our ARB attorney not to reschedule them, to go on with the hearings as per Texas Property Tax Code. And the property owners are notified when the hearing date and time is scheduled that they need these affidavits and that we cannot have the hearing without the affidavit, but they don't read it or they don't pay attention to it. I'm not quite sure what the problem is. We're currently running 3 panels, and on Thursday, tomorrow, we will start our 4th panel. We have been getting out of here past 6 o'clock on the last 4 hearing nights, so it's time. And it's not fun going home at 6:30 and getting home at 7. Anyway, as reported, we lost 2 auxiliaries, and as Terry reported, we're hoping to get them approved pretty quick and appointed. And unfortunately, we're going to be losing another one for moving out of the county. So
Yeah.
we'll be back to 1 short again. But
And do we have to start the wheels moving now, or do we have the luxury of waiting, or what's the story, Karen?
I can only see the hearings the length of the hearings getting longer and longer, or the number of protests.
So do we have to wait until
No, we don't.
they move to Sampat?
I don't think we do. It's, he told us it was within the next month or so.
That's what Terry
So,
just said.
yeah.
So, can we start this process so we can alleviate a little bit of the workload?
So, they can, I put my teacher voice away so they can't hear me. So, we'll have Rico until the end of, they will have Rico until the end of June, so that will only be 2 weeks of hearings left. So when Carol and I talked about it, we thought, well, okay, is it worth advertising again and getting one more auxiliary for those 2 weeks? And I don't know,
I
we
see.
kinda.
I thought it was gonna go through August. And
Well,
so-
we'll start,
No.
we'll start again in August to look for new
Okay.
ARB members
So
for
then
next
we have the
year.
luxury of waiting?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
and that being said, then as soon as you see fit, Terry, we start advertising, getting a pulse of who's gonna be able to serve, and if Rico or whomever can't, or want, they've moved.
Mhm.
So at that time, we need to get everything going quickly, so we don't have this thing happening again.
Well, and we are short chairs. We currently have 3 chairs, 4 with the secretary. I'm getting her up to speed to start chairing. So as soon as we start our 4th panel, she's gonna have to get out of the main boardroom and go chair a panel.
Okay.
So I am trying to bring up to speed some of the auxiliaries that we currently have, and some of the board members. One that we had previously that did not fill a full term, so she's come back.
Okay.
So she knows enough that we're trying to get her up to speed to chair, so that we can put the secretary back in the main boardroom in case I have to leave.
Yes, ma'am.
3 is the bare minimum in a panel.
You're right, we do need
So,
the 4th, so,
yeah.
but you're working on that, so.
We are.
We're good.
We've got at least 2 that
Okay.
we're trying to get up to speed.
Is there anything else for us, Carol?
That's it.
Thank you for your work, and Terry,
Absolutely.
thank you for your action. I deeply appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, at this
Mr.
time,
Chair. Well, yesterday we had a little episode with the ARB. There was a taxpayer that got a little bit too belligerent with the ARB members. One thing is that it was after 5 o'clock. Number 2, we will require security to be there until ARB leaves. That was the first, was not aware. But what got my attention was, and we'll listen to the tapes, I'll have Neil look at the tape, or listen to the tape, as he threatened the board that if he had had a gun, he would have shot people there. That person will be given his name to us, and then we will file that with the police department to file a complaint or charges against the guy for trying to threaten people with a gun, even though he didn't have a gun.
thank goodness.
Okay, thank goodness. So we cannot tolerate that kind of behavior here in the office or outside the office.
That's right.
So we will work on that today, and then Elias will be talking to the security captain today as well to make sure that the ARB people are covered till after they leave, which means 6:30, 7 o'clock,
Right.
and we can do that. That's not a problem, but I do have a concern when a taxpayer gets a little bit too animated and then threatens to shoot people even though he does not have a gun. He made it known that if I had had a gun, I would have shot people here. So that's not gonna be tolerated.
And it cannot be. We need action immediately.
but
And-
we'll listen to the tapes first before we do that.
Okay. And we have that, Neil Boy?
Yes.
Okay, we can get, you have the tape?
Either it will be on the actual record, ARB record, or the video cameras should have caught
Okay.
something.
Right. But I would strongly urge you, as you well know, to get this nonsense out of the way. We will not tolerate any of that stuff.
Yes, sir.
Anything else, Ronnie?
No.
Okay. At this point then, we're gonna go back to the number 7, Elias, the proposed budget.
Okay, so it's this document, you all should have that. The document is designed as both a communication to you and to the public and to the entities, so there's details in here that you guys probably already know, like what we do. So, let me try to give you the streamlined version of all of this, and then you tell me if you want to back into any of the details. To shortcut it, there's an executive summary on page 10 of that document that has major categories of changes. Looks like this. The major expense categories, like for example, the personnel, compare the existing budget for this year versus the proposed budget for next year. The supplies and operating, the vehicles, all of this. It's some subtotals, if you will. Then, over on page 12, starts the details. So let me kind of hit the highlights for you. These are all details, but let me put it in more of a speaking format. The overall budget for this year is $9,440,000. We're proposing a budget for next year of $9,629,000, an increase of $188,000 or 2%. We had some decreases of big ticket items and some increases of big ticket items. So here are the ones that came out when you compare the two budgets, 22 versus proposed 23. The things that came out of the budget and didn't go into next year's budget was a laptop replacement project, $115,000 came out from that. Homestead audit will end this year, so $212,000 will not be repeated in next year's budget. That came out. Outsourced attorney, we decreased that line item by $380,000 because there's other things in that line item. Mr. Wheat's firm will not be handling, I guess, a lot of stuff for us January 1st, so we decreased that line item. And the server lease for the IT equipment that started in 2017, that final payment got made this year, so there are $76,000 that will not be in next year's budget when you compare the two budgets. Now, those are the ones that came out. Here are the things that went into next year's budget that aren't in the current budget. Ongoing merit increases, the value of that is $42,000. Cost of living, a 4% across the board cost of living increase for the staff, excluding the chief and the seasonal temporaries. The value on that is $223,000. We took out Wheat, as I was telling you earlier, but we put in the in-house attorney. The wages, fringe, and all of the associated personnel type expenses, $170,000 went into next year's budget. We did take out one position to be able to do this position, but of course the dollars weren't the same. We took a GIS position out. We've also had some turnover and some other personnel changes, pay increases, that kind of thing. So that offset that $170,000 by $39,000. So we were able to make up part of it. There are 3 new full-time appraisers proposed for next year because of the heightening workloads. The value of all of that is $169,000. There are also 3 new clerk positions proposed in that budget, and the value of all of that with the fringe is $122,000. There were some other decreases in fringe, like the health insurance was the bulk of it. The trends are that it's been going down, so we've budgeted less for it next year. Some other, I think, a workers' comp rate and all of that. So about $58,000 came out of that budget for next year that is in this year's budget. The TLO, her, when she first took the job, she took it for $24,000 a year. She had said at that time, I think it's worth $27,000, so she asked for an additional $3,000. I'm going to choke when I say this, but we think she's worth it.
Thank you, Elias.
You're welcome. Payment later, chocolate. So, there is an increase of $3,000 for, that. We're also putting in some Microsoft licenses across the board to upgrade, because part of it is not just the regular ongoing license, but to upgrade or be able to upgrade and have some of our other software support or be running on our systems. That, we put in $64,000 for that. We are implementing Change Finder, and that'll be $64,000 in next year's budget that's not in this year's budget, and that'll be for 2 years, $64,000 in both years. And TY Pickett increase, that was $25,000, and that was voted on by the board, I want to say 2 board meetings ago. And we also have an allotment for vehicle replacements, $186,000. There's like $185 somewhere that I couldn't find, but overall, the budget increase, when you net all that out, of $188,000. But that kind of gives you the flavor of what came out, what went in, you know, the differences between the 2 budgets. So, a few things came out that aren't gonna happen again anytime soon, and a bunch of stuff went in.
Hey,
So
Elias.
it's a 2%,
Go ahead.
it's a 2% difference is what the net is. It's an admirable job, and 2% in today's market is very tight, and I appreciate the hard work, and I know there's gonna be some questions, but before, Kevin, you go ahead and start, buddy.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna recommend you probably double your fuel prices over last year, because fuel is literally double what it was a year ago.
You think
And you
so?
probably need to raise that to 30,000.
Okay.
I mean, it's
I
just a
can.
hard fact. It's twice, and it may, I don't know, it may continue to go up even more, so.
I can do it.
I think at minimum, probably 30 to 35,000 would be the.
Maybe 35,000 on
Yeah.
that, because it's not
Okay.
gonna get lower.
It's not gonna go down anytime soon.
I can do it.
Anything else, Kevin?
It's just a small,
No, that's a
adjustment,
very
but-
good point. Anything else? Yes, sir, Butch.
How many total appraisers will you have after the 3 additional?
I think it's 41. Let me see.
I think it
Have to
was
count them up.
47, and I think about 50.
We have 37 right now, and then proposing 3 more. Now, this is line appraisers, not the management that also are appraisers, but these are the line appraisers, or a couple of like other staff that go through the courses just to hide their knowledge.
You including the,
37, and then another 3 will be 40 line appraisers.
now, did you include the director and coordinator
No,
appraisers?
I'd have to
Okay.
count them up too. They're in
That'd be
different
2, 4,
places.
6, 8. 3 departments, actually 4.
Right.
So that's 8 additional appraisers,
Well, but
department heads.
Robert, you're leaving, are you retiring, aren't you? So would that include that, or, yeah, okay, okay.
Okay. Yeah,
So I
that'd be
guess the
right.
number, Butch, is pretty near, maybe 48, 49, Ronnie, or?
Yeah, close to 50.
And you feel like you're,
Well, it's a workable workforce. The reason that we're doing this too is because I alluded to you this morning that as of today, we're gonna be looking at 22,838 people that have been protesting. Last year, at this same date, there were 16,733, and we're not done yet. So we anticipate closer to 30,000 by the end of the year, well, by the end of July. That's when hopefully we'll certify the tax roll by the 25th, and by then we'll get a big number. But we are seeing a lot of people come through telephone, come through email, and e-files, and staff is working on all that. That's why we haven't seen a lot of people in the lobby area like we've had in the past. When we averaged 20,000, that was a total number. We've already exceeded that as of today. See? So we anticipate a lot more people before the end of the year, well, before the end of July, certified. So that's why we're looking at the fact that we needed additional staff, clerks, and appraisers. And this will give us plenty of time for them to actually get trained properly, not do it at the last minute to bring in some new appraisers that have no background experience doing the appraisal work that these people do here. That's what I'm saying, that we have close to a total of 50 appraisers if you count the director and the coordinator. So you got your personal property department, You've got real estate department, you have commercial, and then exemptions. In exemptions, we have two appraisers that run the department. One is level 4, and I think the other one is a level 3? 3, Christie. And then your real estate, it's two 4s. The coordinator is a 4, and so is the director, and same thing with commercial department. So that's how we all cover.
Okay,
Okay?
thanks.
Any other questions, Bando? No. Leo? No, sir. Okay. Go ahead, Eli.
Okay. So, this budget is gonna go out to the entities, I hope by Friday. Do y'all have anything you wanna discuss as far as any of those big ticket items that I point out? Because that covers all but $185 of the difference between the two budgets. So, cause that's $188,000 net increase,
Also, that includes the litigation fund of $500,000.
continuing it.
Yes.
Of adding on $500,000 into our litigation fund.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's no increase, it's 500,000 in both
Right,
years, so it's
right.
not, it's just continuing.
It's just moving over.
Because remember, one year when we had COVID, we gave half for the understanding that there was not gonna be no court proceedings of whatsoever because of COVID. All the courtrooms were closed during COVID, so we cut it in half for that reason. Once it opened up again, that's where we came back last year to 500,000. And that's where we're at again today.
Okay. Do we need any action on this presentation, Elias?
You know, it's just presented to you, but I mean, you guys can formally approve the staff moving forward with it, but
There's really no actionable item on this proposal, so I guess we could just let it float and wait till we actually can go ahead and vote on it. So let's move on to item number 8, district investment policies, the amendment, Elias?
Yep, want to amend the contract. Unlike the past, I've always emphasized federal security, well, let me back up, for those people who don't know banking for government entities. Government entities, when you have over 250,000 in any particular bank, the FDIC will insure, as best they can, the 250,000 in that bank. Everything you carry over that amount, which there's reasons why we would, the bank has to pledge its own investment portfolio to you, parts of its own investment portfolio. For example, if we have $1 million sitting in Frost, 250,000 is covered by FDIC, and the other 750,000 has to come from the bank pledging some assets from its portfolio to us. In the event the bank fails overnight, we have proof that that's been pledged to us, and we can go get it, sell it, and get our money. Theoretically, depends on market and all that, but that's how collateral works. The bank is no longer doing federal securities. In the past, I've always said, I want treasuries, I want federal stuff. I don't want this local, I want federal. And the Public Funds Investment Act sets a parameter in which I have to operate. They allow non-federal, but a short list of them. So the bank has come back and said, look, with the new contract period, we're not going to be doing any more treasuries. We kind of see what's going on at the Fed. We're at the federal level, we're kind of leery about the debt that the Fed's in. We want to go down and get more state, colleges, local ISDs, universities, whatever, but as long as it's allowed by the Public Funds Investment Act, I can accept it as collateral. So they are no longer emphasizing federal securities. They're now going into state and local securities. So they said, soon, we're not going to have any federal to pledge to you. So what I want to do is amend our investment policy, which then will amend our contract as far as the allowable securities that they can pledge to us by adding these 2 bullets that are on page 17 of your board packet. I have the current language in our investment policy, which their contract references, and then I have the revised. And essentially, the only difference I'm doing there, other than cleaning up the wording, is adding 2 bullets to accept direct obligations of Texas and its agencies and instrumentalities, so those are direct Texas investments. And then the 3rd bullet, obligations of states, agencies, counties, cities, and other political subdivisions that can be rated by a recognized investment agency as having a rating not less than A or its equivalent. They had some others that they're investing in, but I didn't want to go there. So limited it to the states and the locals that are government entities, and they can be rated no less than A. And I think it's an okay move. I think I think it's fine.
So, I agree with you, and as the protections are there, and I was reading somewhere, I forget which report it was, some government agency went with, as crazy as it sounds, went with crypto backing, and rapidly lost a lot of money, and by the time they realized what had happened, they had lost over a quarter of their money in this crypto thing. And I don't even know how to spell crypto, but much less the workings of it. But I feel real comfortable with these 2 points. So how does the rest of the board feel about this? And it is on page 17, on section 8.
I think they're fine.
Are we afforded the same protection, Elias?
It's the same thing, different investments, different assets that they're pledging to us.
Okay.
They're trying to get away from the federal level and go into state.
But this is this is not our investment. This is a pledge against our deposits.
Bank assets that
That's
are
correct.
pledged to us.
So we're not earning interest or anything off the
No, they
fees.
keep the interest.
No, this is just a
basically-
recoup.
This is just to
recoup.
protect us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, the dirty secret is if everything goes to hell, these are gone too, just like the
Yeah.
federal. So, but, you know, it's protection, but it's not 100, there's no 100%.
Well, would you rather have federal, or you're okay with this?
I'm okay with it because I agree with them on the
I mean,
federal
I
thing.
guess there's always the option of going to a bank that would give you federal.
Well, there's different options. I could spread it out among banks and keep it within the 250, but guess what? The 250 is federal. That's the Federal Home Loan Bank.
Right.
So again, if everything goes to hell at that level, I'm banking on that because y'all see what's going on at the federal level, 30 trillion in debt and climbing and all of that, all this QE and, anyway. Too unstable, it's too questionable right now, but the states seem to be where they always were, so.
I'm
The
okay
states
with it.
haven't moved.
Well, the state has a
Fed-
balanced
the
budget
feds have
amendment
moved.
too, that the feds don't.
Right,
I agree with the feds are the ones that are
it's more
charting
questionable.
into uncharted territory, and I have tremendous qualms about that. I agree with these other issues. Mando, do you have any questions? Butch?
Nope.
Okay.
I'll make a motion I'll make a motion to accept the recommendation.
Mr. Keating makes a motion.
Second.
Butch seconds it. Any further discussion on this? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Let the record show it passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Elias.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now, we're going to have the we already have the ARB Chair's report. So, at this time, let's go ahead and go to, the Chief Appraiser's report. Ronnie?
Okay, basically, all of your reappraisal notices are in the tail end of getting all mailed out, 160,000 plus. The updated on protests, I think I went over those numbers just a few minutes ago. We've seen a big increase this year over last year at this point. Other than that, staff is doing a very good job of monitoring all these protests that are coming through. We've been working with a lot of different tax agents as well as taxpayers. The next couple of things are that we have 2 conferences coming up. One is in San Antonio, that's the Ad Valorem Seminar, and then the TAOO, or the TAAO conference is followed back in Houston. The first one's 24th through the 26th. The latter is 28th through the 31st. Other than that, other than what happened yesterday, it's been working pretty well. We have during this time of the year, we hire 2 additional security officers, gives us a total of 3, whereas they rotate the different floors to make sure people are kind of comfortable doing what they need to do, and also the appraisers are comfortable doing what they need to do. Every once in a while, we'll get somebody that's a little loud. If you go down Leopard Street, you'll see a sign that says the appraisal district is made up of mobsters, Corleone people.
I'm sorry I tainted you all with that.
I laughed at it. The gentleman was here, and I think according to what Don and Willie were saying is that he was probably concerned about what last year's values were, not necessarily this year. Now, he tends to be a little bit animated, but for the most part, he's fine. We took care of his concerns, and he's gone, but I guess he said thank you by putting up that sign. There were nothing but mobsters here in the appraisal district. So, and it's right there, it's next to Brooks Tires.
Called Sinisters.
Sinisters. So I asked Willie right away, I said, did you raise them that much? He says, no. What about Robert King with personal property? That was only 25,000. So, you know, it's just one of those deals where people get upset because they don't get what they want. But at the same time, though, this year, a lot of the commercial people have been asking why. And the problem too is that, remember that we've been dinged by the property value study of comptroller's office, and a lot of the values, not because of that, but a lot of values have gone up because of sales. We ask commercial people to bring in proper information so that they can get adjusted. If they don't bring any proper information, then they're directed to the ARB, and that's where they're gonna be taken care of. We're a little bit stricter this year than what we've been in the past for those simple reasons. They need to bring finance information, income information to do what they need to do. Real estate has been working pretty well. They have a lot of people that come in. Now, we do get some people that are curious as to where we get our sales. And we make them up as we go, I guess, according to what people say. But no, normally staff does a lot of research, whether it works with contractors or developers or even, you know, just the taxpayer. They let us have a lot of good information. As far as personal property, they've been doing an excellent job of going in and out of businesses to make sure that they get their property values as to where they need to be. A lot in the past, they used to just fill out the rendition form, and we come to find out at least 60 to 70% of those renditions are really not true. They would render 20, 30,000.
I can't believe that.
Oh, yeah, I know. So you walk into their businesses, then you see $100,000 to $300,000 worth of equipment in the building. So what we ask is, look, let us know, are you leasing or do you own it? If you lease it, please let us know who the owners are so we can be in contact with them. That has worked pretty much over the last couple of years. So a lot of improvements have been made in the different departments. Exemptions, and they're pretty good at what they do. A lot of people do not understand that it's not Ronnie Canales making the rules, it's your state legislatures. They don't believe that, so we give them the name to call either Todd Hunter, Abel, or Chewy. Those are your three people that create these kind of laws for us. They're in the business of making laws, and the laws come without funding for the local yokels. The last two things that came into play that we just voted on, it's the homestead exemptions for school districts. Correct me if I'm wrong, Don. They'll get an additional $15,000 for this year only, going forward. So that exemption comes up to $40,000 now. And the thing is, though, that when they give this exemption in October, they're going to be short that much more money. And that's where the budgets are going to have to be cut or whatever for these school districts. It doesn't affect the city or the county or Del Mar, just strictly for the school districts. Next year, there'll be another law come in play for the over 65 people. We'll get you more information on that law next year. But for right now, that's the one that we have concerns with, is the homestead exemption of an increase to the school districts. Other than that, your overall values for the county of Nueces have been in double digits, and they're still up there. They haven't been coming down, as far as we know. A lot of people that we've seen, they have been bringing proper information, they've been bringing in pictures. The appraisers have been able to work with them to make sure that we don't come down to the exact number, but we're pretty close. And spoke to several taxpayers that leave the building, and they're not happy, but they're happy with the fact that they were treated professionally, and they were very transparent with what the appraisal district gave them. Other than that, staff is doing a very good job, and makes my job easier. And so, saying all that, do we have any questions? Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, sir. Next item is suggested items for next regular board meeting. Besides having Irene call or email me about, remind me about the meeting, other than that,
Just a
again,
Remember.
yes, sir, but,
reminder that we need to return these
yeah,
attorney-client privilege.
the memos. Anything
Irene.
else?
Pick them up, please.
Okay, in that case, let the record show it's 10:33. A motion to adjourn,
So moved.
second?
Second.
Leo seconds. All in favor, vote aye. Aye. Thank you very much.